For most of human history, brushing your teeth had nothing to do with cosmetic appearance. It was not about white teeth or fresh smiles. In ancient Egypt, caring for your teeth was a matter of health, comfort, and survival. Tooth pain was common, infections were dangerous, and there was no toothpaste, no toothbrush, and no modern dentistry to rely on. Yet despite these limits, ancient Egyptians were among the first people to intentionally clean their teeth and attempt to protect their mouths from decay. Long before modern hygiene existed, they developed methods using stone, plants, and observation. This is how Egyptians brushed their teeth before toothpaste. Ancient Egypt was a civilization deeply shaped by its environment. The Nile River provided food, water, and fertile land, but daily life was harsh on the human body. One of the greatest threats to dental health came from diet. Bread was the foundation of Egyptian meals. Nearly everyone ate it daily, regardless of class. But this bread was far different from what we know today. Grain was ground by hand using stone tools, and tiny fragments of sand and grit often mixed into the flour. Over years of chewing, this abrasive material slowly wore teeth down. Archaeologists have found Egyptian skulls with teeth ground flat, cracked open, and worn nearly to the gum line. This damage led to constant pain. Exposed nerves, infections, and abscesses were widespread. Without antibiotics or surgical tools, even a small infection could become life-threatening. For many Egyptians, dental pain was not a temporary problem. It was something they lived with for years. Despite this, they noticed that people who cleaned their mouths suffered less. Over time, they began experimenting with ways to remove food debris and reduce discomfort. One of the most extraordinary discoveries from ancient Egypt, what historians believe to be the world's first toothpaste. Medical papyri describe a powdered cleaning mixture made from crushed rock salt, dried mint, pepper, and sometimes powdered flowers. These ingredients were ground together and rubbed directly onto the teeth. The mixture was extremely abrasive, far harsher than anything used today, but it helped scrape away debris and slow the buildup of harmful bacteria. Mint and other herbs also helped improve breath, which mattered greatly in a culture that valued cleanliness and order. To apply this powder, Egyptians did not use toothbrushes as we know them. Instead, they relied on chewing sticks. These were thin twigs taken from specific trees and shrubs. One end of the stick would be chewed until it separated into soft fibers, creating a brush-like texture. This frayed end was then rubbed across the teeth and gums. Some of the plants used naturally contained antibacterial compounds, though Egyptians would not have understood the chemistry behind it. They only knew that these sticks helped reduce pain and keep the mouth cleaner. Chewing sticks were simple, portable, and widely available. They required no manufacturing and could be replaced easily. This made them accessible to people of all social classes. In many ways, they were more practical than early toothpaste powders, which required preparation and ingredients not everyone could obtain. Variations of chewing sticks are still used today in parts of Africa, the Middle East, and South Asia, showing just how effective the method was. Dental care in ancient Egypt also reflected social inequality. Wealthier Egyptians had access to trained medical practitioners. Some individuals held titles that translate to Doctor of Teeth, suggesting early specialization. These practitioners likely treated infections, drained abscesses, and prescribed remedies. Archaeological evidence shows that some teeth were drilled, possibly to relieve pressure from infection. These procedures would have been agonizing. There was no anesthesia, only physical restraint and herbal mixtures intended to dull pain slightly. For the majority of Egyptians, however, dental treatment was limited to prevention and endurance. When pain became unbearable, remedies included herbal poultices, oils, and honey. Honey was especially valued for its antibacterial properties and was applied to wounds throughout the body, including inside the mouth. Even so, relief was often temporary. Many people lived with chronic dental infections for most of their lives. Medicine in ancient Egypt was closely tied to spiritual belief. Illness was not always seen as purely physical. Toothaches could be blamed on evil spirits, curses, or imbalance within the body. Alongside physical treatments, Egyptians used prayers, spells, and amulets for protection. These practices were not considered separate from medicine. They were part of the same system of care. Despite constant exposure to pain and disease, Egyptians placed enormous importance on cleanliness. Bathing was frequent, hair was groomed carefully, clothing was washed regularly. Oral hygiene fit naturally into this broader cultural value. A clean mouth was associated with discipline, order, and respect for the body. Even when brushing was painful, it was still practiced. What makes ancient Egyptian dental care remarkable is how familiar it feels. Modern toothpaste still relies on abrasives to remove plaque. Toothbrushes still function by mechanically cleaning the surface of teeth. Preventative care, cleaning before pain begins, remains the foundation of dental health. Egyptians did not understand bacteria, but they understood cause and effect. They observed that certain habits reduced suffering, and they refined those habits over generations. When we brush our teeth today, it takes less than 2 minutes and requires almost no effort. In ancient Egypt, it was a deliberate act performed in a world where pain was common and relief was limited. Their methods were crude, sometimes damaging, but deeply intentional. They remind us that even in the ancient world, people cared about their health, their comfort, and their future. Long before plastic tubes and electric brushes, Egyptians were already fighting decay with stone, plants, and persistence. They did not brush for vanity. They brushed to survive. This was daily life in ancient Egypt. This was hygiene before toothpaste. This was life in the working past.